Let's talk about canceling. You know, when artists go too far, when they're shocking edgelord rebels. Let's just sort of have a little thought experiment here. I'm going to give you a choice, a sort of theoretical choice, a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Thumbs up means it exists exactly the way that it is and the way that it has been with no changes at all. Thumbs down, it's not a la carte. You don't get to pick things you like and things not. Thumbs down means that thing is erased from pop culture altogether. All timelines past and present. I'm of course talking about that recalcitrant, undying rapscallion of the late 90s and early 2000s, the terror of censors and public decency. I am talking about South Park. All right? I want you to tell me thumbs up or thumbs down on the cartoon, the crude, adult-oriented cartoon. Would you make it disappear if you could? Now, there's lots of reasons to say thumbs up to South Park, which is what we're talking about now. It's funny, it's well-made, it's an authentic expression of some very talented artists. It ushered in a real profound development, especially in relationship to the usage of satire, how satire can be used. And that's the most important thing to understand in this discussion. And you clicked on this thumbnail, so you know we're here to talk about South Park. To talk about South Park, we have to talk about the definition of satire, because that's the question, that's the problem, that's the glory of South Park, which is the thing we're discussing. The use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. That's what satire is. In particular, what interests me is exaggeration to criticize people's stupidity. And no one does that better than South Park, okay? There's a problem, though. The problem is, even if you're so good at satire and you're so smart and you're playing 4D chess with reality while everyone else is just playing checkers, those people are still playing checkers, numbnuts. Some people don't get the joke, and when they don't get the joke, satire becomes a problem. It becomes an actual issue. It becomes a you problem, not a them problem. This is what often happens with edgelords, people who try to be edgy. Edgelord behavior, and I should know, I used to be an edgelord in an old timeline, in an old self. It is problematic. Let me give you an example with South Park as to why they are an issue. I grew up in a fairly nice suburb of Boston, Massachusetts, okay? While I grew up, I never once in my entire life heard a Jewish joke. I was not aware of any stereotypes whatsoever. That's not to say I didn't know any people who were Jewish. Carl, Dan, Andrew was like my best friend in second grade. Noah, I knew a lot of folks. I understood that they had some different religion, but I didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't know anything about it. Seriously, truly, just no idea. And then I saw South Park. And all of a sudden, there's all these, jokes. Now, South Park didn't invent these jokes, not at all. They were satirizing these jokes. You see, these hateful stereotypes that were espoused by Cartman were so outrageous. And of course, most of the adults watching knew of these. And of course, most Jewish people had experienced these stereotypes their whole life. Hell, I'd experienced them. I just didn't clock them. I listened to Jerky Boys. I didn't understand how much of Jerky Boys' material was like weirdly anti-Semitic. Like, I didn't know. And so, for the first time in my life, I laughed at a Jewish joke in the guise of anti-Semitism and Cartman being outrageous and all that. But still, this idea, however fanciful or satirical it was it satirized hatred or was it ultimately mainstreamed? That's the issue. That's the problem with satire, is people don't always get it. It's too smart of an art form, and people just are not that smart. So what you want them to say is, oh, that Cartman, he is such an interesting exaggeration of character traits that I see in other people, and sometimes within myself. Hopefully what we can do is fight that inner Cartman and become better people, more like Kyle. Instead, what ends up happening is, oh my God, I'm just like Cartman. Sweet. Cool. I'll just keep being like Cartman because he's funny and I'm funny. And it's all good. You see, the problem with this definition of satire and the problem of satire itself is this word right here, criticize people's stupidity. That means that whoever that is, and of course we're still talking about South Park here, this people who you're criticizing, well, sometimes you're criticizing people who don't have a lot of societal power. Sometimes you're punching down when you're criticizing people. And when you're doing that, are you really using your humor to the best of its ability? Are you being edgy and countercultural when you are just knocking around people who already need help and who are already down? Who are the people? So when you have South Park try so hard to be edgy and offend people on every single possible side of the political spectrum, which is their goal, everybody gets hit. I'm an equal opportunity offender. What ends up happening is your privilege ends up showing. You can't help it. You're a white male. I'll go one step further. You are a heterosexual white male. I'll go one step even further and say you're a cisgender heterosexual white male like myself. That's the easiest way to be an edgelord, dude, because you know the difference. You know you're not racist, so you can make these jokes and you can play with these jokes and everybody gets it. Everyone. I'll make fun of, transgender people and Candace Owens. You know what I mean? South Park would do something like that, because they're so edgy and all out of the place, which is all fun, Like, remember 2016 when they made fun of the presidential election? They're like, it's douche nozzle and a turd. And everyone could just laugh because, what's the difference between Hillary and Trump? There's no difference, There's no difference when you don't have a uterus. If you have a uterus, then there was a difference. Actually, it turns out, oops, Supreme Court, oops, losing all of our rights, oops. You're not in danger of having your family deported if you're a cis-het white male from Detroit, Colorado. Okay, you're not actually in any danger. Inevitably, edgelords tend to be in a position of power. But why am I even talking about South Park? They're so old. They're still cool. It's awesome. They're still doing it. But they are a vanishing cultural import. They are just this holdover. At their worst, now they're becoming, let's just call it what it is, centrist, middle-age, white man cringe. What I call the boom Xer. A Generation Xer like myself who has adopted the belief system of boomers. Okay? It's a sad thing, but I see it happen all the time, okay? It happens absolutely all the time to people my generation. I'm on Facebook, I see my friends, and I go, damn, we lost another to the Boom Xer movement. But of course, at its best, South Park is still able to cut. It is still the most inventive, insightful satire of the modern age. There's a reason that Wisecrack still does great videos about it, because it has this creative and vulgar precision. And god damn it, they're still at it. So many other people have just dropped out. They could have gone the Howard Stern angle, and just sanitized themselves in their old age and tried to distance themselves. Come on, Howard Stern. We know who you are. You don't have to fix your image so that Paul Simon can come into your studio and talk for an hour and a half. South Park stayed true to what it was, even if what it is problematic and always has been problematic. So that's my question for you, all right? Thumbs up or thumb... Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have a script. I have notes. Oh, I meant to say Eminem. This video, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Just replace, do find and replace. Every time I said South Park, you just replace that with Eminem. It'll work out perfectly. Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor, him, who is trying to talk about the similarities between South Park and Eminem. I'm being a funny, goofy guy. Why am I being a funny, goofy guy? Eminem told me to. Eminem quoted South Park in this album. And all the questions I just posed are the exact same questions we have about Eminem. More harm than good. The satire that Eminem uses and has used. If people don't understand its satire and they just take the homophobia, they just take the misogyny, they just take the ableism and feel empowered by it, you're not really being fighting discourse. You're not really being a hero. You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole. All right? That's what's happening. So it's kind of tired, kind of a relic from the late 90s. But listen, who else we got making good albums? We got Nas. That's it. Okay, I guess Busta Rhymes is still making some good stuff. But who else from the 90s is still coming out pretty consistently, staying totally relevant? Jay-Z dropped out. Wu-Tang, I mean, okay, Ghostface album is pretty good. They come out with some pretty good stuff, but they're not like right up there. They're not like jostling for the top spots anymore. So we need to praise Eminem, because this is the thing about The Death of Slim Shady, the album that I'm actually talking about here. I'm not actually talking about season 87 of South Park. I'm pretty stoked on it. The production's very strong. I mean, the production is Eminem production. Eminem has a certain kind of production style that the floor is very high, the ceiling is very low, okay? So you're never going to get the kind of beat. There's a couple beats on here that are like, damn, but for the most part, you're not like, damn. You're just sort of like, cool Eminem beat for some cool Eminem rhymes, and he's doing a great job mixing up his flows. A little bit of the rapid stuff, but not too much. Thank God, mercifully, not a lot of that weird stop halfway through a sentence and keep talking with the next. Oh my God, that terrible pause thing. There's great features on here. He's not just trying to jam it with like whatever features will go. He's picking interesting stuff. He's making albums that are different than the last album. He's doing interesting things. And the whole thing here is an interesting concept and a wonderfully fascinating, complex, complicated exercise in satire. Okay? Much like South Park, at its worst, it's middle-aged white man cringe. At its best, it is biting satire. It is either a horrible piece of garbage, just trying to be shocking, okay? Just like satirizing society in just a sort of crude, crass, and lazy way. Which is, not, in my opinion, not a very gracious way to look at the album. I don't think that is the best way to look at this album. I think a more gracious way to look at this album is that it is not a shocking album. It is an album about shock. It is an album about being shocking, which is part of the reason why it's not actually that shocking. It's not. And I'll talk about that a lot. So I want to try to put forth the charitable and the uncharitable readings all at the same time. Now, uncharitable. Can you be shocking if you don't have the ear of the youth? No, you can't be shocking if young people don't care about you. You just can't. If I'm the guy who cares about you, me and my buddies on Facebook who sit there and like watch videos of like high school graduation from like 1997 and post things like, wow, before phones, ... That's who's going to be the shocking dude? No way, you can't do it. You can't do it. Okay, so he can't be shocking because he can't influence, he can't corrupt the youth. That's why Socrates was put to death. It was for corrupting the youth. It wasn't for corrupting a bunch of old dudes hoping the new Star Wars TV show was going to be good. All right, that's who Eminem is corrupting. And the most cringy thing is that he's in no danger of being canceled. Just none. So much this album's like, they canceled me and I'm done. And no one. We're just kind of like, all right, man, you just keep on going. It's like he's like, that image of like the really short dog that's trying to fight the tall dog in Looney Tunes, and they just hold him out and he's just like punching and he doesn't land any punches. Like Eminem, no one's gonna punch. No one's gonna cancel you. No one. Even if they say that you should be canceled, it's not gonna happen because you're Eminem. We know it is cute. You're on a collar, buddy. You're on a leash. It's okay. I'm on a leash. We're all on a leash eventually. So when he gets kind of cringy like this, he ends up sounding like a Boom Xer, right? The Boom Xer that I described, afraid of Gen Z. But the reason that it's more interesting is because it's about being shocking. But even if we're trying to like give him the grace of saying that's the point of the album, the ways that he tries to be shocking are oddly specific and very targeted. He goes really hard into ableism, which unfortunately is not a big part of our national discourse right now. Okay? Little people do not have a particularly strong voice for their own, existence, autonomy, and respect in public discourse. They don't. I don't care if they change Snow White. They don't have much space or respect. So he goes super hard on ableism, which is like, all right. I mean, I guess that's it's annoying. It's like mean. Like I guess that's mean, dude. Cool. Making fun of like the mentally underdeveloped or whatever, cool, man. Yeah, you got him. They won't be able to handle you. Sort of reminds me. My girlfriend, a long time ago, 20 years ago, her best friend was dating this guy who thought he was just the wildest dude. And like, he just wasn't that wild. And he just annoyed me, but he thought that I was freaked out because I was too square. And so he would like pretend to like, I'd just be like sitting down at a restaurant and he'd come up behind me and like rub his balls on my head and be like, oh, you can't handle me. I'd be like, dude, man, people rub balls on my head all the time. I'm not freaked out. I'm just kind of annoyed, dude. Like, I just want to eat my onion rings. Like, you're not like shocking me, you know? So he's going after Christopher Reeve a lot. Now, if you had to Google Christopher Reeve, which most people did, he was a mediocre actor. I didn't think he was very good. I'm going to go on. He was a bad Superman. I said it. I don't like him. I've never liked Christopher Reeve. I don't think he's good. That's like heresy for people my age. I think Brandon Routh is a better Superman than Christopher Reeve. But he was also stupid rich, and so he rode horses, and he got paralyzed, and so he was famous for being paralyzed. I don't wish the man to be paralyzed. I don't think he was a particularly good Superman, and that's that. There we go. Boom. That's it. And he died in 2004. He died 20 years ago, and he gets mentioned, I believe, 6 times on this album. Maybe even more, including an entire song dedicated to him. Now, this is where we have to say, okay, but Eminem's actually playing some chess on you. That's in the voice of Slim Shady, who's intentionally being lame and repeating the same reference over and over again. Okay. I got it. But maybe it doesn't land. Okay? Satire is a tricky game. It's very tricky. I've had to give up on satire most of my life. I used to be really into satire in my friend groups, but most people just end up thinking that anyways. And goes really hard after Caitlyn Jenner, and like trans issues, but like the trans issues are rarely like, he manages to create ways of being transphobic that are the least offensive as possible. And he never goes after race, and he doesn't even really go after sexuality. He doesn't really go after, he's not a particularly misogynist album. So it's like, he's sort of defanging himself. He's being like, shocking light. He's halfway between South Park and Howard Stern, you know, halfway between like, I have to interview Martha Stewart and what if we showed Muhammad on our next cartoon, right? He's still kind of stuck between there. Man, I remember when I was like 10 years old, people were telling me Helen Keller jokes. She died in 1968. So through this lens, I think the thing that he is the most kind of clear about, the thing that is his biggest target, and this is where satire gets confusing. This is where, is he being Eminem or is he being Slim Shady, gets really lost. And that's his general attack on cancel culture. Too often, he just feels kind of old and confused. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it. And what's it seems weird and scary to me. That's Abraham Simpson talking to Barney and Homer Simpson. And of course, the punchline is, it'll happen to you too. So that's basically where he sort of is. Just sort of like old and confused and doesn't really get these things. And that's the problem with trying to be edgy and middle-aged at the same time. You're edgy and you're the person in power. You are a property-owning, middle-class white man in the top tax bracket. So what, you're going to complain about some 20-year-old kids? Like, you know? And if I was to really kind of go the furthest that I can with the real uncharitable reading here, is it's not Slim Shady. It's Lamp Shady. That's my joke. I put it on Instagram yesterday. You could join my Instagram if you want. Professor Skye, I think it is. I got some good stuff going on over there. I had a rap artist who I reviewed recently send me a DM last night, and I got so excited I couldn't go to sleep. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm going to respect their privacy, but that was super exciting. I don't think I'm getting a DM from Eminem anytime soon. But Slim Shady, Lamp Shady. That's what I think Slim Shady really is, if we're being uncharitable with Eminem. So while I'm uncharitable with Eminem, I want to remind you, this is an album, I'm pretty stoked on it. In general, I'm pretty stoked on this album, okay? I'm pretty stoked on it. But the problems with it come with Lampshady. Now, if you don't know the term lampshade, it's a fairly new term to intentionally call attention to the improbable, incongruent, and cliched nature of an element or situation featured in a work of fiction within the work itself. He uses Slim Shady to lampshade what can you believe how stupid and played out I am, and how old and pointless I am, and how my worldview is completely outmoded and everyone's tired of this stupid shtick? You see, I said it. So you can't blame me. You can't actually say all those things about me because I lampshaded it for you. Slim Shady is Eminem's lampshade for most of this album because he can just say all this stuff and it's cliched and it's incongruent. And just by bringing Slim Shady back, when the whole world is done with Slim Shady, no one needs Slim Shady. All the people who relate to Slim Shady need to get their prostates checked, including me. I need a prostate check. Not a prostate check. What's the one? The one that really sucks with the cameras. I need one of those, all right? See, I blocked out the number. My wife's like, you have to get that scheduled. I'm like, yeah, I'll get right on that. And I jump out the window, okay? So making fun of cancel culture while making fun of the idea of cancel culture while making fun of the idea of making fun of the idea of cancel culture, and everything gets lampshaded, and attacking snowflakes and Candace Owens and the whole thing, and it's like, he's intentionally creating a discourse around the album, and then part of the album is about the discourse that the album itself is going to create. So, if you say 47 times that Caitlyn Jenner has a penis, if you say that 47 times, then people are going to say, hey, you probably shouldn't say that because that's just not a cool thing to say because, people, that's not where we are. The same way your grandparents couldn't say things about people of other races just because, we evolve as a society and we've evolved to understand that trans rights are human rights. And if you're against human rights, then just go fuck off, dude. You know what I mean? But hey, But if we're to go with the 4D chess charitable view of the album, each time he does this and you're triggered, man, you're just playing right into it. He's South Park. He's figured it out, man. He's right in the center. Whatever happened to reason? Because Shady is the villain and Shady is the mouthpiece. He's trying to have it both way. Chicka, chicka, chick, Lampshady. He's trying to more lampshades than IKEA. I almost wrote an entire Eminem style rap here, but I didn't. You're welcome. Back to charitable Skye. Charitable Professor Skye here, okay? It worked. The first song, he talks about haters and their attitude, and he has this whole line about how people don't think that Kendrick's album was good, or Lil Wayne's album was good, or his album was good. And I've seen 30, 40 things on Threads. And that's a lot, because there's only a total of 117 threads. On the entire site, there's only been 117 posts on Threads. And 20 of those have been about this, have been about, oh my God, I can't believe Eminem is going after Kendrick. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Dude, don't believe it. What are you reading the text? That's like saying, that's like being so stupid that you'd be like, oh, remember when Kendrick said that that he was molested on that song Mother I Sober? Remember that? It is interesting. It is interesting that they played right into Eminem's hands, because he directly said, this is what a hater says. Haters say Kendrick's bad. And then everyone just ran with it. And then they didn't just run with it, they ran with the last person who ran with it. So we had one bad faith, lazy ass reader who takes the quote and puts the quote in his tweet or in his thread. And then the next person just quotes that. And then all of a sudden, a bullshit discourse is created out of absolutely nothing about something that Eminem didn't even say. Or that he maybe lampshaded, but that he didn't even say. So it's interesting, because what he's saying isn't actually interesting. What's interesting is the way that we're talking about what he said. If this album is great. I don't know if this album is great. I'm saying I'm pretty stoked on it. That's my official review. That's my official rating out of 10. I'm pretty stoked on it out of 10. There's a chance that it's great, though, because of the way that it moves. Now, he said in a tweet or an X or a thread or a Jibble that it's a concept album. So you can't take it out of context. You have to go song by song. You have to read it and take it carefully. To which I say, peace, my brother. Good. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for having the courage to make a concept album and to stay with it. And I'm going to take you seriously on that. And I'm going to listen to your album and go track by track by track. And then I'm going to realize, hey, buddy, you released 2 albums. There's one album that ends, and then there's a second album that's a little tiny EP. That first album is The Death of Slim Shady and all about the duality of Eminem. And can you believe he said that about Caitlyn Jenner and Christopher Reeve? Christopher Reeve? Is he the guy who directed those really good Planet of the Apes movies? No, dude, that's a different guy. You know? But then there's the second album. And I call that album The Death of Marshall. The second album is really personal. There's a whole personal aspect to the album, the second half of the album, to where you sort of get the feeling that he's trying to do 2 different things and that you're leaving with the death of Slim Shady and the death of Marshall Mathers at the same time. And I guess all you're left with is Eminem, if we're supposed to go by the idea that there's 3 of him in one. And that makes sense because Eminem is probably the most coherent thing that Marshall Mathers is. But that's being charitable, and I think he's earned it. And I want to just emphasize that. Other things that I've seen, the online discourse, I've seen, a lot of people saying, this is further proof. You can't put Eminem in the GOAT contest. You can't put Eminem in the GOAT conversation. And this is proof. Hey, listen, even if you think this album is bad, releasing like less good stuff doesn't take you out of the GOAT conversation if the other GOATs aren't releasing anything new. We don't know what Tupac would be up to in 2024. Would he be releasing garbage right now? Unfortunately, we'll never know. But you can't be taken out anyways. But I have 3 random thoughts before I get to the album properly. 1, I love the hip hop references here. My man, Eminem, shouted out, "Steady B." Oh, my old school hip hop heads, I know you're out there. Did this man just cite Steady B? God damn. I have an unmarked Steady B cassette. I tried to find it to hold up as a prop. But that is some real hip hop arcana. That, he also mentioned Special Ed, but Special Ed is mainstream. That's like Run DMC compared to Steady B. He wears a Jason mask in a lot of the promotional stuff. Hey, Eminem. Kanye West did that for the last album he did this year. Remember the album Vultures? Then it was on 5 different things and he was using all words, AI stuff for his videos. He wore a Jason mask. And it's a reminder, he's the real canceled guy. Not in a good way. I'm not saying oh, good job, yay, getting canceled. But that's... that's a reminder. Who is truly shocking? Who is truly canceled? It's the guy who should be wearing the mask. You're just wearing a mask. He's Jason. You know what I'm saying? Which, of course, makes a lot of sense because if you follow the nature of horror movies, right? Horror movies exist where the boogeyman represents asocial forces. And society has to correct them through murder because they endanger youth and they endanger the continuation of society. So they exist as these kind of scapegoats. And once we annihilate the things that are aberrant to our normal mainstream society, then we can breathe easily. That's why they keep coming back, because we have to keep taking things that are different or think differently than we do and kill them and get them out because they're going to threaten the entire populace. Now, that's the whole point of horror movies. That's the whole point of boogeymen. That's the whole point of Jason, and that's why Ye is Jason, and Eminem's a dude in a hockey mask. Finally, I am a French professor. It is pronounced Coup de Grâce. Coup de Grâce means fat strike, which I guess this album does have a coup de grace. If that's what you mean because you do a lot of fat-phobic horse hockey, I'll get to you in a second, Eminem. What the hell is this about? We'll get you there in a second. This is what's called a hyper-foreignism, okay? Where you overcorrect based on, so you know a lot of French words you don't pronounce the last word, like coup, right? It's not coupe, it's coup. So you see coup de grâce and you think, oh, I'll just say coup de grâce. But no, you pronounce the s at the end. Coup de grâce, right? It's the killing strike, the grace, because you're not suffering anymore. So the strike is giving you the grace of releasing you from your pain, both in this world and your knowledge of your impending death, and perhaps a small to large amount of torture that you have been in before you are murdered by the coup de grâce. Not the coup de grace. This is what happens when you cut language programs, people. So, if you like what you're seeing right now, smash the like button, subscribe, do AVAA. It stands for awesome video, as always. I'm recording now a little bit late. I watched the Euros. Sorry to my English viewers. I didn't think that you were going to win it, and you didn't. That's not why I had Don Quixote back here, actually. I have Don Quixote back here because Don Quixote is maybe the best example of satire in fiction. One of the earliest examples. So, there you go. So I'm going to review both albums, The Death of Slim Shady and The Death of Marshall Mathers. But first, let's give the man some flowers. This album has what may be the best mainstream rap song of the year. Okay, it's not like that, or not like us. But Fuel? Have you heard Fuel? Are you a hater? It's okay. It's okay. Eminem needs haters too. I need haters. We all need haters. But have you heard Fuel? Now, okay. Why is Fuel so good? Because Jid is legit. Okay? That's not in my notes. I just came up with that right now. He is too legit to quit. Okay? Jid is so good. His flow is amazing. And what I love about his flow and his rhymes on here is, what is the greatest argument for Eminem in the GOAT conversation? It's not that he can all that stuff. It's that he can all that stuff, and he can be creative, and he can tell stories, and he has a ridiculous vocabulary, and he's really inspired a lot of people, right? You try to bring Eminem Sucks to people who love rap, white, black, or any other color, and they will be like, yeah, dude, yeah, okay, nice take. Beat it, right? Just because, Jesus Christ, he's amazing. He's amazing. But you hear Jid, and Jid's trying to be in the Eminem flow. He changes his pitch, he changes his flow, and slow to fast. Now listen, Jid happened to body Eminem on the entire album. Jid happens to have the best verse on the entire album just by the quality of his voice and his breath. Oh my God, I can't wait for the next Jid album. But then Eminem ups his game, much more than he did for Babytron, much more than he does for Skylar Grey or Jelly Donuts or whatever the hell it is, right? Like, he's really, really bringing up his game. He's hard, he's cool, he's interesting, he's playful, and offensive. Actually offensive. From the second you press play, I suggest they do not test like an essay, because I like when my homies out west A. Essay is a term that a lot of gangbangers, in particular, sort of Hispanic gangbangers in the West Coast, will refer to each other as essays. It's like saying homies, but it's for Spanish speakers in the West Coast. So do not test like an SA. Okay, good. We got SA in there and we got test. Okay, that's clever because he says out west. We can just say I'm like an RAPER. Okay, so he said raper. Okay, got so many SAs. So he's saying like SA and the test, but also like he's got so many homies in the West Coast, but also SA stands for sexual assault. I'm with you, Eminem. I don't know where you're going, but I'm with you. I don't know what the hell you're doing. You're going 5 different directions, but I'm with you. Wait, did he just spell the word rapper and leave out the P? Did he? Okay, hey, how about a reference that matters? He references Candace Owens and Puff Daddy multiple times. I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy. Other guys are the guy to talk about the fact it might be problematic that he's targeting black celebrities when he's a white celebrity. I'm not the guy. I'm going to recognize, hey man, Ben Shapiro also exists. Okay. But doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're just going to keep moving on because P. Diddy does not deserve any a pass right now. So leave out a P. Diddy. So he removes P from the word rapper and it becomes R-A-P-E-R, which means that he turned the word into the word of the thing that P. Diddy did. And people are offended. How are you offended at such delightful wordplay? He's not making light of the situation. He is using his skill, a skill which P. Diddy does not have. Props to P. Diddy for helping to spread Notorious B.I.G. No Way Out's pretty good album. Dude is responsible for All About the Benjamins, so I'm not saying that doesn't mean he shouldn't be held up to a lot of criticism, but that is 10 points in his favor. R.I.P. Rest in peace, Biggie and Pac. All y'all should be living, but I ain't trying to beef with him because he might put a hit on me like Keith D did him. So, like, actually talking about who killed Tupac and tying it in with Diddy and, like, actually being scandalous. Actually bringing up stuff that makes you go, oh, man, did he? Not, like, just saying, Christopher Reeve is crippled. Okay? And then he mentions Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm uncomfortable. I have friends on Facebook. I have conservative friends on Facebook. It's a weird time to have conservative friends on Facebook. It's always a weird time. And those dudes love Kyle Rittenhouse. Man, you murder people, they love you, man. God damn it. They just love it. And then he takes a shot at DJ Paul from 3 6 Mafia because he has like a congenital disease where his like arms are short. That's too far. But that's what I want. If you're going to be Mr. Too Far, if you're going to be Mr. Blow Your Mind with how far you are, you got to be bringing up Rittenhouse and Diddy, and you can't just stick with Caitlyn Jenner over and over and over again. All in all, this song is everything that is great and problematic and interesting and challenging. The entire 4D chess, the point where you're never quite sure who the people are that he's making fun of. Is he making fun of P. Diddy? Is he making fun of us for supporting P. Diddy? Is he making fun of himself for being the kind of person who would make fun of P. Diddy? Who is the people here? Because that's the thing about this satire. Sometimes the people who he is criticizing, okay? The people whose stupidity he's criticizing is Marshall Mathers, is Eminem, is Slim Shady. That's the people who he's criticizing. And this song, more than any other, absolutely nails that. I'm going to go through the rest of the album stupid quick because I've talked too long about South Park. Listen, I've been so excited about that intro. I was like, when I get really excited about an intro, I just talk. I just say it when I'm by myself, like going from room to room. I was like in the shower yesterday. I was like trying to like nail that intro in the shower like 12 hours ago, you know? Starts off with the first song, Renaissance. I'm surprised because it's a French word. He didn't pronounce it Renaissance. Starts off with a Haktua sound. It's the summer of Haktua, everybody. Some movie sounds, very minimal beat. This is that whole hater verse. This is why it's so fascinating because, like, he is totally right. This is the Always Positive New Music Review show hosted by a French professor, pronouns he, him, because I'm so sick of how spoiled and short-sighted we are in the greatness that surrounds us. That Lil Yachty and James... I'm going to whisper like Joe Biden. That Lil Yachty and James Blake album came out, and you assholes thought it was mid. Okay? As Greta Thunberg would say, shame on you. Hey, there's an old reference. Shame on you. And he is absolutely saying it. He is going exactly into the mind of a hater. He is being the exact kind of half-assed internet, what's that, cinema sins bullshit that's just infiltrated everywhere. Everyone's just waiting to say something snide and snivelly on someone's great artistic work. Everything's too tame or too much anger. I didn't like the beat, so I hated much later. You nerdy pricks would find something wrong with 36 chambers. I am right there with you, Eminem. I appreciate your satire. I appreciate that you've been taken out of context. I appreciate that you proved your own point by being taken out of context, and I appreciate your larger point, which is that Might Delete Later was a pretty good album, and I'm happy that it exists. I did a positive review of it because it was pretty good. Wasn't amazing. It's pretty good. And that should be celebrated a lot more than the things you don't like. You nerdy pricks. Then we get to Habits, and this is where it gets more interesting. This is where the charitable and the uncharitable come together because he brings up the point that he is addicted to being shocking. He is addicted to the energy, the juice that he gets from being a jerk. And I know what that's like. You may not believe this. I have a podcast I've had since 2010 about Star Wars toys. Okay, I have a whole different life. Okay, you don't know me. All right, and so on that podcast, I do it with my friend Steve, and I have a very acerbic personality. I'm just basically a jerk. I'm like a trolling, negative jerk who's always trying to use satire to piss people off and be like the guy who's getting everyone. And I get hooked on it, man, because it's so exciting. And then I cry because I'm misunderstood. Why do they think I'm being a jerk? But I'm actually trying to play with the idea of being a jerk. I know what it's like, Eminem. It's the crisis of an edgelord. It is. You can't say R word, shut up. I guess I'll say M word for little people. I've been trying to break the habit of saying R words, but I'm still an addict, so it's getting harder. I've been calling B words hoes since a kindergartner. You know, like, it's interesting because he's saying all these things, you know. Got the women pissed, and it seems like men are off-growing a huge clitoris. I probably annoyed a few feminists. I am a feminist. This is what a feminist looks like. And I'm actually not annoyed by this song at all, because the song is going into the mind of somebody who's having a trouble with the changes that are happening in the civilization. It is true that men are having a different attitude towards masculinity. That is absolutely true. 100% accurately represented. And in this whole song, where he once again goes after Caitlyn Jenner by dead-naming her, shows his inability to understand those changes, okay? I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I am isn't it, and it seems weird and scary to me. Trans rights are human rights, and that is scary to Eminem. And he's telling you that it's scary. So you can sit there and say, let's cancel this pig fucker, let's throw him out into the woods and set him on fire. You won't, though, because no one actually cares about him enough to do that, let's be honest. But still, you can do that if you want. I'm not sure he deserves better than that, based on how intentionally aggravating and how much he tries to go over the line is, but I think it's more useful for him to be the voice of a well-meaning person who's trying to explain the fear of being an old man. So when he says, you know, I'm about as much of a boy as, and then he dead names Caitlyn Jenner is, because I'm not a boy, I'm a man bitch, my speech is as free as his choice to gender is. You know, like, this is, God damn it. It's pretty good satire. In the way that it's hard to believe that it's satire. I think it's lampshading. I don't think it's satire. I think it's lampshading. But it's to quote Nigel St. Tufnell, it's a fine line between clever and stupid. It's a fine line between lampshading and satire. And then we have the South Park quote from Mr. Reality, from the episode called Safe Spaces from season 19 of South Park. I watched the entire episode. I'm not stoked on it. Not a great episode. But it's all based on this idea that there's too many safe spaces and people are afraid to feel shame and they need to feel shame again, and reality is going to come in. It is the most ex-boomer episode of South Park in an entire catalog of ex-boomer South Park things. It's perfect. It's a perfect marriage of ex-boomers. Is he lampshading, or is he actually satirizing, or is this what he actually feels? I don't know. And he even talks like, oh, would you feel better if I was Cartman? And then he just goes on and on little people, you know, using the M word that refers to them. I'm just going to say M word because I was told that those the people, little people, do not like to be called that. So I'm not going to call them that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's afraid of them because they're not that strong of a marginalized group. And at the end, he justifies his misogyny with his daughter's success. I don't know if this is satire. I have some news for you. If you have a black friend, it doesn't mean you're not racist. It doesn't mean that you don't support systematic, because racism is not personal, it's systematic. So you can definitely be a racist and have many black friends. It's totally possible, okay? Because the racism that matters is the systematic racism, not the individual racism, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, you can have successful daughters and be a misogynist. Basically, probably 99% of all successful women in the history of civilization have had misogynist fathers. So that doesn't get you off the hook because your daughters graduated from college. Now, if you were there for them, which you said you weren't, if you were a good dad for them, which you say you aren't, then in that case, that lets you off the hook. But that doesn't justify. Okay. Oh my God, there's some thunder, which means my dog Toby is going to bark soon. I'm his thunder buddy, so you're just going to have to deal with some barking pretty soon. We're in trouble, which is the name of the next song. The entire conceit of the album, his fight with being canceled, him fighting against Slim Shady. I gotta fight you, Slim. F blind people and deaf people suck, so do cripples. Dumb quadriplegic Fs with Christopher Reeve's luck. And then, oh, Jesus, Shady, what's going on? Oh, here comes Marshall, try to clean this up. What's the matter, Marshall? Your penis talks. Going really into this idea of the fight of the personalities. Let's not forget that of all the things that Eminem did that was smart, is he really leaned into storytelling. Because he doesn't have that much to say right now, right? He's a middle-aged, recovered addict with millions of dollars in the bank, successful record company, restaurateur. He's a part of the establishment, so he can tell stories. This is an interesting story about these fights. Next song is Brand New Dance. Just going after Christopher Reeve again. So listen, hey, it's up to you. You tell me. Taste may vary. We'll just leave it at that. I don't know if this is like intentionally cringily bad to be satire of, the attack helicopter thing. So there's a thing about that is 100% true. I pay a lot of attention to trans issues and trans rights and transphobia. 100% of the time it goes to the attack helicopter thing. So if I say I identify as an attack helicopter, then you have to call me an attack helicopter, right? That's the thing they always say. It always boils down to the one joke. That's the term that we use in the community that's fighting for trans rights, right? It always boils down to the one joke. And so is this thing going after Christopher Reeve over and over again, like making fun of going back to the one joke? Is Caitlyn Jenner an attack helicopter? Is he playing 4D chess? Or is he just lampshading again? I don't know. Next song's called Evil. He talks about killing puppies. Word. Awesome. Good. Very offensive. I don't like it. I don't like the sound of killing puppies. I have 2 dogs. I love both of them. So, I don't know. I'm a little tired of the conceit at this point. I'm so evil. It's like, yeah, dude, we got it, but it's okay. I do like how he says the good kind of gay, which is, like, I like this. As a dude who grew up using gay as an insult, thinking that I wasn't using gay as an insult, referring to people who are gay in terms of being homosexuals, right? Like, I thought that I wasn't being homophobic. I've repented my ways. I'm a better person now. And, I understand there's no harmless way to use the word gay as an insult, the same way there's no harmless way to use the word for female genitalia as an insult, right? There's no harmless way to do that. But I didn't understand that at the time. But still, I miss that word because it has a certain zing to it. So as an old guy, as an old middle-aged guy, I am sort of like, damn, that was kind of a fun word to use sometimes. But you can't, because it hurts real people. But I do like that he said that there's a good kind of gay, and the good kind of gay is men who have sex with other men, right? Like, that's the good kind of gay. The bad kind of gay is, whatever. If your friend says that he doesn't want to go to the movie because he wants to do homework, right? That's how I would use it, right? That's how, okay. Goes in, the sort of the issue of drugs kind of comes back and forth in this album. It seems like he's sometimes trying to address it, sometimes not. I know he has entire albums about that. Nice change of flow. Just some of these funny cringe lines. I'm kind of like I'm a bookworm because I ain't stopping until everything gets red, like meaning like blood, but like, dude, I don't know. Did you run out? Another Caitlyn Jenner joke? Just seriously, leave the woman alone. She's a bad person, isn't she? Right? Didn't she kill someone in a car? Isn't she like a super Trumper? I don't know. People can be bad people. Just because they're in a marginalized group doesn't mean they're not bad people. Anyways. Lucifer is maybe the best beat on the album. This boom, boom, boom beat. Cool, Italian string sounds. Just great. And then it goes on and on and on again about getting canceled. Before I get banned, kicked off Twitter and TikTok because they so damn ticked off, bitter. They want me to bounce like a fabric softener. Oh! Sorry. Sorry. That's a bad rhyme. We just got rid of Ye, go kick rocks with him, but Dre on the beats and Whiteface Blonde on the mic. Again, I don't think you should be bringing up Ye because he's the actual guy who got canceled. Like, that's how you be shocking now? You have to actually be repugnant. You actually have to say things that are legitimately repugnant. In the trenches, like Columbine shooters. Dude, there's like, two separate references to wearing trenches like Columbine shooters, or in the trenches like Columbine shooters, off of the album Vultures by Ye. Dude, come on, man. Come on, man. And he goes after Candace Owens. I like it. I'm not the guy who's going to tell you I have a problem with it. Okay? I'm not the guy who's going to say that. There might be a problem with it, but still, MAGA dirtbag in a skirt. That's his ability with words. Sly Paper singing on here, I like it quite a bit. Then we get to Antichrist, more of like a 2003 style beat. Again, it's just like, there's just Eminem beats. And the enemy here is really Gen Z, you know. Someone needs to come and hit the reset button back to 2003. Because how do we get stuck in this woke BS? I'm trying to make it regress. Fuck them. How many times do I have to bring up the definition of satire? I don't know. Is he lampshading? Is he actually saying this? I know the problem with satire is there's a lot of dudes my age who are going to listen to this who grew up and went to Lollapalooza 2, 3, and 4. That's right, everyone. I saw Soundgarden at Lollapalooza. And Primus. Oh my God. All right? And Body Count. All right? All those people who are like, man, I saw the Up in Smoke tour. Back when Eminem was the guy. You know, like, we're going to hear this and we're going to say, yeah, we need a reset button. This is too crazy, all this woke BS. I don't know if it's satire or not. And then Bizarre comes on, a guy from D12. He makes another Caitlyn Jenner reference. I can't do it, guys. I can't do this many Caitlyn Jenner references. I don't even... Who thinks about Caitlyn Jenner anymore? Like, who? Like, when's the last time she was even in the news? And then another Megan Thee Stallion reference. Okay, I guess Megan Thee Stallion makes sense as, like, Eminem's thing of picking beefs with, like, female stars to show what a great misogynist he is, or a satire of a misogynist he is. I'm still pretty stoked on this record, though. I still think it's good. I'm sorry to piss you off. If you're loving me, like, shitting on this album, I still basically like it. But, you know. How about this lyric? Saying that he's a cross between Nas and Jizza, Biggie Smalls and RZA, So Hard, Megan Thee Stallion, and Nicki Minaj with SZA. Like SZA the singer, and like scissoring is in the lesbian sex act. Great. I mean, it's like, Eminem is a good enough rapper that he can rhyme RZA, Jizza, and SZA and not make you go, that was a lazy rhyme, because he does it in kind of this fun, unexpected way. And then he says, sticking a clip in the ooze I've been itching to use, looking like Nicholas Cruz. My trigger happy, it's ticklish true. Travis Bickle him too, we getting rude. All right, so this is weird. Because Nicholas Cruz is the guy who did the Parkland shooting. So he's actually like shouting out an actual shooter. So this is another case where you're like, oh, wait a minute. Eminem actually did something shocking. He actually made me uncomfortable. I don't like shouting out that guy. And then he makes reference to Travis Bickle. We're living in a time where a presidential candidate was just shot last night, 6 o'clock. Shot. Why'd you shoot me in the ear? You know, shot him in the ear. You know, it makes you think about the 80s when John Hinckley shot Reagan. And when he shot Reagan, he did it to impress Jodie Foster, because Jodie Foster was in the movie Taxi Driver. I don't think he was her type, but that doesn't matter. And Travis Bickle was the character in Taxi Driver who he ended up emulating. So anyways, Travis Bickle is a very complicated character, the lead guy in Taxi Driver. He's basically the Patrick Bateman of Xers and Boomers. So check it out if you haven't. Then a whole nother verse about kind of like laughing about Diddy beating that woman and had to censor it. And like, it's actually shocking, right? It's actually shocking. He can do it. A great beat change in this song. Then we get to Fuel, another great song. And then Road Rage, maybe the worst song, at least in terms of this whole, is he satire, is he not? Because he has this whole thing about fat people, about obese people, okay? A lot of people think that the term fat should not be not used. So I'm going to use the term fat because I've had many people who care about this issue of treating fat people, overweight people with respect. And they say that the word fat, it should just be like reclaimed and just used as a descriptor. So that's what I'm going to do. If that's not correct, if I am being old and insensitive, please tell me in the comments. Seriously, I'll change my ways. I don't care. Whatever the thing is that makes other people suffer less, I will do it. That's my like policy on earth, okay? If I can do something that's no skin off my back and other people suffer less, I'll do it. And that goes for pronouns, and that goes for words, and that really, seriously. I mean, even if it requires a little bit of like thought on my part, I'll do it. I'm that much of a hero. We should coddle fat people. Here's a concept. Let's celebrate onset diabetes. Instead of dieting, we can just have a pie eating contest, and that'd be extra nice. Okay, just stop, dude. Just knock it off. Knock it off, Adam Carolla. This is an actual Adam Carolla rant, and I get the point. I get the point that maybe it's not good to enable people who have an issue with overeating. And that may be true. But I've learned something, okay? First of all, I have a lot of kind of body image issues, and I've always thought that I was obese, but that doesn't really matter. That's just dysmorphic, weird thinking I've had for a long time. So that's neither here nor there. But I do know people who are legitimately overweight, legitimately obese. The problem is not that they feel too good about themselves. The problem is not that the messages that they've been getting their whole life is that they're peachy keen fine. The way to help people who have issues, if they are psychological, is not to beat them until they don't do that anymore. Fat people have been told they're fat and worthless their entire life. So you don't need to, the first time when people go, hey, maybe we should talk about this as sort of like an addiction, sort of like a disease. Sometimes it has nothing to do with what you do. Sometimes it's just your body. It's just the way that your body processes calories. Sometimes it's a result of class. Okay? All right? Like, it's often class. It's often class. No, screw it. Most of it's class. So don't come out here, you stupid millionaire, talking about how stop eating donuts, when you don't have to live in a food desert anymore. You used to on 8 Mile, and guess what? People are more likely to be obese on 8 Mile than they are on Rodeo Drive, or wherever the hell you are now, because that's the reality that we live in. So why don't we work on changing the systems and helping people feel better? And that's the answer. It's not a question of giving them the tough love. Fat people have had the tough love their entire life. I used to be with it, but then it changed. And now what I am with is no longer it. And it'll happen to you, because it happened to M. And then he has this whole thing about needing to be honest with trans people. And this is an interesting verse, because I don't think he's trying to be shocking on purpose. I think he's trying to say that he's for trans rights, but that he's uncomfortable. Like, basically, he's done like a half of a step towards like the 10 steps you need to take to really understanding and being an ally to trans people, right? So he's saying, you have the right to exist, and great. But then he goes on being like, but I can't pretend you didn't used to be a man, or whatever it is. And it's like, that's just the next step, okay? And just, you haven't taken the next step. You just have to take that next step. It does require a certain amount of mental discipline that you might confuse with cognitive dissonance, but it's not. It's just like, okay, this is like a new thing, a thing I didn't used to think about, and now I have to think about it. And it's scary to have to think about a new thing, okay? It's scary. It's very scary to have to think about a new thing. Oh my God. I shouldn't just make fun of fat people? Whoa, okay. Well, I guess if my grandparents had to stop making fun of black people, I can stop making fun of black people. I can stop making fun of trans people. That's how progress works, right? So, like, he made the first step, but then you have to take the next step and just say that even if you have that thought in your head, you just don't voice it, you don't fight with it. You just say, okay, that's a relic because I'm old and things have moved on. And then he talks about, like, why do I have to know the pronouns of a cis man? Just because, why not? Because just show solidarity. I explained this to a friend of mine. Ironically, God damn it, I wasn't going to get all political, but here I am, 59 minutes in, and you're riding with me. I have a friend, name is John, super cool dude, Star Wars collector, pretty moderate guy, kind of a grump, nice dude. You'd love him. He was talking to me about how he's been getting more conservative as he gets older, even though he used to be like into punk music and agnostic front and all that stuff, and Sam Black Church and all that rad stuff, And he's like, but I've been actually getting really into this one conservative commentator who's really helped me out a lot. And I was like, oh really, who? And he's like, well, it's funny because she's actually a black woman. I was like, oh really? Who? Knowing who it was. It's Candace Owens. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I like John. John's a good guy. This might work. He works in a public school. Okay? This is not the enemy. All right? This is a guy who walks the walk and talks the talk of being a good person. Okay? So, okay. And he just says, I don't understand. Why do I have to have pronouns? I understand why they have to have pronouns. Why do I have to have pronouns? And I said to him, John, I can explain it to you. You're Hispanic, are you not? Yes, I am. I'm white. I don't ever have to say I'm white. I'm the default. I am the default race. I am just nothing. Now, if I have to say that I'm white, that acknowledges that not everybody is white. If I say that I am white, that acknowledges that the way we've all been racialized applies across the board. And so that means that people who have not been othered have to do the work of being othered. They have to take on and do that little bit of effort to show, okay, if you have to declare your pronouns because they are at odds with how you may be perceived, then I will declare my pronouns out of respect because my way is not the default way. Do you know what John said? All right, man. I hadn't thought of it that way. I told you John was a good dude. You just got to explain it to people. So I hope you watched it. I hope you understand. That's what it's about. There's just no defaults in this world. Anyways, and beyond that, listen, if you're too worried about trans rights, don't worry, they're going away. Like, it was a flash in the pan. Anyways, everybody who has been kind of flippantly talking about trans rights is going to really regret it in the next 5 years when they all get reversed along with a bunch of other stuff, and we're all kind of like, oh damn, ooh. Anyways. And then for absolutely no reason whatsoever, he jumps into this Southern bounce style, actually mentions Juvenile. I don't know why the beat changes, but it's nice. And then we get to the song Houdini, which I dunked on for a while. I like it in this context. The question that I raised really was this question that I've been bringing up over and over again about the definition of satire. Okay, the definition of satire, and is this album going to be middle-aged cringe, or is it going to be an album about middle-aged cringe? And it's sort of about both. I did want to make one point. He says the whole world's going to turn into Girl Scouts. Do you know the beautiful reality? Is the world is turning into Scouts of America. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are very different. In most of the world, you can be a girl in what we call Boy Scouts. All right, my wife was a national champion scout, right? Co-ed, that's the way it was. But in America, we don't have that. So that means girls get to go to Girl Scouts and do Girl Scout things, and boys get to do Boy Scout things, which are just way more fun. Just for most people, just out in the woods, chasing around, cutting stuff up with knives and building stuff in the woods. Awesome stuff, right? So now girls get to be in the Boy Scouts. So instead of having Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, we'll just have Scouts. And if you want to do that stuff, you do that. And if you want to do the other stuff, you do the other stuff. No one loses. Again, I'm willing to do any sacrifice that takes no effort on my part for other people to feel better. Then we get to breaking news, where we get to pretend the whole world cares about this album and about how Eminem's going to cancel himself. And then we get to the song Guilty Conscience, which is a beautiful song because it directly brings up this question. They say your satire backfires because it lacks ire. And this back and forth between Eminem and Slim Shady, and it's the last song on the album, of the first album. Say sorry, and he says, I'm sorry, Marshall's a pussy. He is Dre and Jimmy's puppet. Sorry, he gives a fuck but pretends he doesn't. Now, of all the insightful things he says on this album, that's the one that really gets me. Again, I get it. You wanted me to come on here and just say bad things about this album, not say that I'm stoked on this album when I am in fact stoked on this album. I get it. But he's saying directly to you, he's always been a poser. He's always cared. He's always cared. And he apologizes to Cannabis and Ja Rule and Benzino. Now listen, if you're not super up on like hip hop history, that's cool. But you ever want to go down to a rabbit hole, you go into the beef between Benzino, the Source magazine, and Eminem. Ah, it is great. It is great. It's great. It's great. Him, even in jest, apologize to Benzino. I mean, that would be wilder than if Kendrick was like, "It's okay, Drake. You can say the N-word." It's like, what? Like, it's the craziest thing you could possibly imagine. And the whole fight happens between him, and this is where it's over. The album's over. Him and Shady. It's over. We're not really quite clear who wins, but then he talks to Paul and says it's over. And we now have a little EP. A nice little EP at the end, which is actually not very good on balance. I like the first song, Head Honcho, featuring Easy Mill, like a Filipino-American rapper who raps in a different language, and it is absolutely awesome. It's just great. Great flow. I really like Eminem's flow on here as well. Just like this is why I'm saying it's like it's not thematically tied in. It's over. It's over. The Death of Slim Shady is over, that last song. This is just like, hey, I've got a record label. Here's a dude on my record label. How does this sound? Sounds pretty good. Then we get to the next song, Temporary. I am a father. I mentioned it every episode 7 to 8 times. I forgot to mention that on Houdini, my daughter, I've been teaching my daughter how to dance. She's almost 2 years old. Oh man, she was dancing to Houdini. So Houdini, listen, haters gonna hate. But haters can also appreciate a good dance song. We were grooving to that song. So I like this interesting idea of a song to Haley after his death, to his daughter after his death, and all about how like pain is temporary and she'll be okay. And it's sort of like, so if Marshall Mathers actually dies soon, then this song will have some kind of mystical whatever. But as it is now, it's sort of this weird thing where we're sort of like imagining that the album's over. This is one of 2 songs at the end here that is in the fictional universe where he's actually dead. He does the goddamn stuttering thing where he says, "A guardian ain't Joel." Oh my God, I need you to move on. I don't know. I don't like this song. I don't like it. I didn't like listening to it. I don't like Skylar Grey, Skylar Green, Skylar whoever. Whatever color Skylar is, Professor Skye, not a fan. I don't like. This is Howard Stern Eminem. That's what this is. This is him being like, it's like that song, the "I'm not afraid," right? I had a student who so I tell my students in my rap class that any song they want me to, every student gets to have one song that I will teach in class, like contextualize it, sort of do what I do for the classes. And one of them asked for that song. It was rough. I did it. I never said I didn't like the song. I treated it with respect, but the whole time I was like, man, I don't like this song. Anyways, it's this kind of other sort of poppy, heartfelt thing, which is like cool, but not really what I want from Eminem. Then we get to Bad One, kind of a fake sounding Dre beat where he even mentions Dre in the beginning, but it's just not that. And it's not, I mean, I keep saying I'm stoked on this album. I keep saying bad things about it. He's talking about like being with this woman, and it's pretty unpleasant. He's like talking about like Hulk and Smashing and Iron Man and Avengers. And then he talks about himself as being Santa. You won't be talking about Purell when Santa ties your hands. It's creative, but god damn, it is tiré par les cheveux. Pulled by the hair. Just too hard. And I believe this is the same beat as in What's Beef by Notorious B.I.G., which is why when he mentions Biggie is gone and Tupac, I'm still alive, and you not the woo dog, so who died and made you God? Hey, Golden Arms getting a reference. We had Steady B and You God getting a reference. Okay, of course he referenced Jizza and the RZA, but You God is getting a reference. All right? Love it. Love it, Eminem. We need more You God references. Very funny homonyms. Yes. This $1,000 in my hand is just like what Candace did when she turned her back on her own race because I have abandoned it. Again, more homophones playing with words, not homonyms, homophones, words that sound the same but have different meanings. Banned in it and abandoned it. That's fine. Again, I'm not going to be the guy who points out that it might be problematic for a white celebrity to be attacking black celebrities the way he attacks Candace Owens. I'm not going to be the guy to point it out. I'm going to be the guy to say there might be something to be said there. There might be. Fortunately, there's no shortage of excellent creators on this platform who can talk about it with more expertise than I can. You said you were looking for miniature golf. I thought you said you were looking for men to jerk off. Just, God damn it, man. Is he just goofing? Is this just like playing around? And it's like, I didn't say it, Shady did. It's like, but we're just done with that whole concept. Okay, then we get to the song Toby. Got bit by a spider, but see me. I got bit by Toby. He's my dog. This song's just great. I covered the song in detail. I did this song in great detail. I like this song. It's great. Then we get the skit. Guess Who's Back. I love this. It's his sort of like fake voice. It's sort of like a Slim Shady like character making fun of who Eminem's become, sort of making fun of him becoming like Howard Stern, respectable version of the shock jock. Half a bag of Viagra. I'm gonna reach around and grab you. Great, funny. Sometimes I wonder if my homie is gay. And then he ends with, wait, where did everyone go? And I like that because that right there, when he says, wait, where did everybody go? It means that it's clear that Eminem understands something that this kind of rhetoric man will not stand. That he used to be with it, but then they changed it. And now what I am is not it. Then we get to the final track with Jelly Roll. Another song about being dead. Another song where it's basically a better version of the song Temporary about the death of Eminem. The way Jelly Roll sings, okay. Rock and roll moment here. Aerosmith, This Is True, was a great band. Great band. Aerosmith's first 3 albums, self-titled, Get Your Wings, Toys in the Attic. Those first 3 albums go toe-to-toe with Zeppelin, Stones, Beatles, whatever. That's how good the first 3 Aerosmith albums are. I say that and you go, what the hell, Aerosmith sucks. Aerosmith sucks because there was a point in the 1990s where they were hooked up with the devil. The devil's name was Desmond Child, and he helped them produce songs in a certain way, a certain kind of middle-of-the-road ballad, which sometimes were good, like... Tell me what it takes to let you go. I mean, that's the good one, right? Off of Pump. And then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until you ended up with songs like Don't Wanna Close My Eyes 'Cause I Miss You, Babe. I don't wanna miss a thing. And it's just terrible. This song is like a Desmond Child Aerosmith song sung by Eminem. So, there you go. If that connected with you, then you are my biggest fan. You are like, oh my God, Skye, Desmond Child. That's what this is. Eminem is turning into Howard Stern, produced by Desmond Child. You're a genius. If not, I'm making a reference as hip and as with it as Christopher Reeve. So there you go. What's your vote? You can tell me in the comments, thumbs up, thumbs down on Eminem. If you could, would you delete him entirely? I wouldn't, but I think it's an interesting question because he probably has actually hurt people. With this rhetoric, but I don't know. It's the same question as South Park. These are my Patreons. They help me to buy music. I don't think I'm going to buy this album. I do think I'm going to listen to it more, though, because I'm pretty stoked on it. I think I've mentioned that once or twice. I also give Patreons a chance for an individual shout-out. It doesn't matter what level you are. I just say, hey, who wants a shout-out? So Maya Weberin wants one. Connor Munoz. Okay. I don't know if it's Munoz or Munoz. I do not want to hyperforenate it because there is no tilde over the end. So I'll just say Munoz. And Jared Peterson, they all wanted individual shoutouts. So they all got them. All right. So there's my review of the album. And you tell me in the comments, thumbs up or thumbs down? Eminem, canceled or not? Okay. Sorry, my phone is telling me that I'm low on battery, so I can't even see myself. Okay, there I go. All right. Till next time, there's the camera.